Well, this is a real treat for me to be speaking to you in front of everyone here. Thank you so much, Fred. You're very welcome. I know we spoke a little bit before, and I wanted to ask you about about when you were starting out in film, when you first came into film. It was a very exciting time. Film was changing in Europe. You were very young at this. Can you tell me what it was like at that time to be walking into a new cinema in Europe?
I'm not sure that I was aware about what was happening. But in any case, I started to study painting very early, and I was fascinated because visual arts are a great opportunity to share, to feel, to increase your sensibility. And but at the end of a certain moment, I felt that painting was not the future, especially because I was involved in the left-wing people making art. Mm-hmm. And so I said to myself, because I don't know, of course, as a left-wing person, I had to respect the fact that any work had to represent something belonging to the reality. Mm-hmm. But I was in love with Pollock. There was a great contradiction in a way. And I was studying and working as assistant for the children. Mm. I was studying childish psychology. Yep. And I was working with young children with disability. And one day came to me a call of a friend of mine saying that Orson Welles was looking for a young boy to make of him an assistant. Okay. For him, for his future works. I wasn't sure. I couldn't change so radically my perspectives, but in any case, I thought that I had to try. Even because a friend of mine, very young as I was, who wanted to be a director, he said to me, "Orson Welles, run!" And I said, "Okay."
Run to him.
Sorry.
Yeah, run to him, not run from him.
And I said to me, okay, you have to. I went and I discovered a black hole, ambient, a garage with two lights, two moviola working, with a big shadow of a big man with a big cigar. Yeah. And so after 10 years, Welles said to my friend to teach me how to use the moviola. And I started to learn under the gaze of Orson Welles, who has been with me as patient. I couldn't meet anyone in the life, even if was not patient at all. Yeah. He was a very, very demanding person. And so, anyway, after 15 days, more or less, I became his instruments for realizing, as assistant, everything he was asking me to realize for him.
that must have been terrifying.
And so
That must have been terrifying. It must have been a very frightening experience with such a...
it was something fascinating.
Okay.
I felt that I was absorbing something I couldn't imagine
Yeah.
before. And in any case, I went on finishing the work. He was preparing for the RAI. It was a diary of, how you say,
Oh, it
diary of trip.
Yes, it was
in
like a
Spain.
travel diary of
Exactly.
around Italy.
And so then he wanted, we joined him in Paris, where we were going to be his assistants for the trial, the film he was
The
making
Kafka
there.
film, yeah.
And so, okay, one year as assistant with this kind of guy gave to me the impossibility to come back to my previous intentions.
Yes.
And so I went on, but I was an assistant with Orson Welles. And I came back in Rome trying to look around if there was someone accepting me as assistant, but I didn't meet anyone. Because someone said to me, but who are you working with?
Yeah.
And I said, with Orson Welles. Who? It was impossible to accept this kind of...
Yeah.
And so, at the end of the year, 1963, in November, someone called me saying that a young director was looking for me, and I had to organize a meeting with him. The young director was Bernardo Bertolucci. Bernardo fell in a misunderstanding. He thought that I had been an editor with Orson Welles.
Okay.
And not an assistant. I started to work with him. There were many things that were giving us a feeling of brotherhood, if we can say.
Yeah.
But because we loved, both of us, the Nouvelle Vague, the new cinema. And so, in a way, we started to edit the movie. But at a certain moment, Bernardo realized that I wasn't an editor, not yet.
Okay.
And so he said to me, I'm going home. It was I said in the Christmas holidays. I'll be out there 10 days. I leave you a sequence to cut. As editor, you'll be alone. And so when I'll be back, you'll show me your work, and we decide if you can stay as an editor or as an assistant, because I need an editor. Okay. It is not easy for anyone, I think. And it wasn't for me. I went for 10 days, every day, in the cutting room, watching the movie, on and back, 10 days, without cutting anything, without even marking, perhaps, I don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah.
But I know that I didn't touch anything because I had to absorb, I had to understand, I had to found what? The inspiration, no? I had to find the courage. And so the last day, the 1st of January, everywhere is closed, everything. I came in the cutting room. I closed myself inside all the day and all the night. The day after, Bernardo came at 10 o'clock, saying, "What about the sequence?" I said to him, "It's it." And he said to me, "You are the editor."
Oh, excellent.
And from that moment,
Yes.
we started to, with a very, very deep and very, and very satisfying feeling.
Yeah.
Come si chiama? Reciprocally.
Yeah.
Bernardo was said once in an interview, Roberto and I, we were reflecting as in a glass. As in
He called you his first accomplice. Sorry? He called you his first accomplice. Is that correct? You were the first.
Sorry,
it was your first. You were his first accomplice. You were his first partner in crime.
No, there is a very, very strange thing, because when a day I was visiting Bernardo at home, at his home, he was already ill on the couch. Come si chiama?
Wheelchair.
Sorry. Okay.
Yes.
And I said to him that I had an experience with Wim Wenders, and he said to me, "Okay, we are going to call Wim Wenders." Oh, then, well, no, don't worry. No, I'm going to call him. And he said with Wim Wenders, "I have here my first accomplice, because it was a way of not just sharing, but of living the same thing with the intuition, the capacity of conceiving everything we were trying and realizing as a sort of duty."
Yeah, okay.
It was something we had to do. We had to demonstrate that just the creativity and the invention could give us the answers we were looking for. And so, of course, editing is a great experience. In the sense, an experience about the languages, about the capacity of being expressive, sometimes explicit, but not only explicit, because we have to share something with the public, and the public doesn't know what we are saying, but they have to feel, to receive, to understand, to make this discourse as something increasing our curiosity, our experience of life, anyway. So well, I wanted to ask you, because about the film, the Before the Revolution, we saw a clip there. It's so it is very, when you watch it, it feels very much like a film, a European film from the 60s now. It's very recognizable in its style and in its feel and the music. But when you were starting, did you, for example, there are scenes where you have repeated the action. I think the bicycle falling at the beginning, we hear it a number of times. There are two people meeting, and they meet 3 or 4 times, a different angle, but the same moment. So can you tell us about, putting in those moments, putting in that sort of new grammar, new language into a film? How do you decide that? It is not easy, because I was so involved that I couldn't realize that we were provoking the reality. We were provoking the the sense itself, because when you are moving, the capacity of the language to create a sort of a proposition of a jump of imagination. Of course, it is not so. You cannot think that everything has been prepared somewhere.
Yeah.
No, you are just working with the intuition, working with the necessity of trying. And it was so exciting, but not exciting in the sense of superficial one, but it was very, very deeply involving, that we obtained something in a very, very natural way, without any contradiction, even if we are going on contradiction.
Yep.
The normal experience.
Yes.
And in this sense, I guess that I cannot say, because after this movie became a sort of prototype.
Okay.
Because there is not a consequences radical or rational consequences starting from this. But this movie were just expressing the necessity of an interpretation without leash. No?
Yeah, so unleashed, yes. Off the leash, yeah.
And so, going on, I have been recognized as an editor for the young cinema, for instance. And I went on with Bernardo first, then with the Taviani brothers, and then with others again. I have been recognized as an editor good for a certain kind of cinema. But the producers were going on saying that I was an intellectual editor. I am not an intellectual.
Yeah.
I am someone looking for something because I'm interested in something, but in any case, not intellectually.
Yeah.
But they said that because it was a warning for the other other producers that the films I was going to edit, they didn't earn money, and they have to pay attention because I could destroy their
could provoke in the wrong way.
Hopes,
Yes.
etc. But just to have a conclusion, a logical conclusion, there is something very, very attracting in the investigation. Because, for instance, I wrote at the School of Cinema in Cuba. On the wall, they ask you to write a sentence. And I wrote, "Como no quiero ignorare il passato, prefiero provocare al futuro. As I don't want to regret the past, I prefer to provoke the future."
Excellent.
And this is so.
Yeah.
That gives me this feeling of never we finish our mission, we can say. And in this sense, all this adventure, even with the teaching experience, it has been in this sense, because we have to live free, anyone learning something, but not blocking the imagination.
Yeah, I think it's interesting that they said you were an intellectual editor, because it seems to me what you've described is a very emotional editor, a very emotional approach. So when you were cutting films, you talked. I mean, I presume you don't spend 10 days looking at every scene, but like you did at the very beginning. But do you spend a long time looking at the film before you cut? Is that always the way? Is that the way you like to do it? Just
this story of the emotion is something helping me with when I published a book with a certain number of essays I had been writing. And the title is Give a Shape to the Emotions. It's ironically because the shape to the emotions we are giving in any way, with any language, in a painting, a musician, anyone expressing something is giving a shape to the emotions. But it was a sort of paradox. As editing, it is not a profession, it's a language. We have to recognize that the languages are made for having a sort of continuous evolution. And in this sense, I don't like I didn't like the moment when someone said us, okay, stop with your creativity and your
like stop being artistic. It is time to be.
And because we have now to take care and to consider the audience and not the public.
Yes.
And I answered to Roger Crittenden, who I had a very long conversation with him. I said to him that at that moment I had to change my mind, my way of being an editor, and I had to reconsider the elegance and not just a provocation. It has been very, very, very frustrating.
Yes.
But I restarted with the necessity and the desire of thinking about the investigation about the languages, all the languages, even because cinema is a sort of concentration, if we can say, of different languages, which have the capacity of creating the synergia, expressive synergia. Even if we have to pay attention to not impose to any languages to be just functional and not expressive.
And you have such a distinctive style. You're a very thoughtful. I mean, I say intellectual in the thoughtful sense rather than the perhaps educational sense. But do you need a particular director, a type of director for that, your craft and your art to really come through? Can you work with any director, or do you need someone who is thinking like you?
It's too wide. But no, I feel that cinema has to a un bivio, I say.
Digress.
I say bivio.
Yeah, like a fork, a direction.
There is on one side something functional to continue to go on with a cinema of economical aim.
Yeah. Commercial, yeah.
The commercial film.
Commercial.
And on the other side, the language, if it consider its potentiality open, it can be a new open perspective to the expressivity, because 100 years, more or less, of the history of cinema demonstrate us that the creativity, it has no limits, but the limit is making itself present, or anyway concrete, when we are blocking the process. Yeah. And so I guess that I'm not a young person, as you can understand, but I consider myself on the door for a new perspective, open for the new discoveries and so on.
Yeah. Oh, okay. And would you like to be a director yourself?
Oh, no. No, because when someone asked me, I said I prefer to be a good editor than a very weak director.
Excellent. Okay.
I don't like the weak directors.
Well, I think that's where time is nearly against us. So I think that's a really good time to take a little break. I think if that suits everyone. So, Roberto.
Thank you. Sorry for my English.
No, please. It was wonderful.